my name is Avery Taylor, and today I'll be ranking the 35 best first basemen in all of baseball. If you enjoy this sort of content, please subscribe as we're closing in on 500 subscribers. And let's get right into it. At number 35, I have Nick Pratto of the Kansas City Royals. Pratto was by far the worst first baseman in all of baseball that's received significant playing time, with a negative 1.3 WAR, negative 6 DRS, and only hitting 7 home runs and 35 RBIs for a 660 OPS. Nick Pratto just simply did not get the job done at an MLB level, and he's lucky that he's playing for the Kansas City Royals and not elsewhere because he'd probably be coming off the bench. At number 34, we have the first of many Miami Marlins first basemen, and that is Yuli Gurriel. He finished with a negative .5 WAR, had 4 home runs, 27 RBIs, a negative 1 DRS, and also had a 663 OPS. A really down year for the first baseman, and he got benched during the middle of the season. And we saw the Marlins trying to repair that spot throughout the entire year, and they really couldn't do that. At number 33, we have the newly signed Pittsburgh Pirate, Rowdy Tellez. Not my favorite signing in the world from the Pittsburgh Pirates as a Pirates fan, but we'll get into that because he finished with a negative .6 WAR last season, was a 0 DRS type of first baseman, hit 13 bombs, 47 RBIs, had a 667 OPS, and also got benched for Carlos Santana, who the Pirates sent their way. At number 32, I have Ty France of the Seattle Mariners. Once again, not the greatest offensive season, only hitting 12 home runs with 58 RBIs and a 703 OPS. But to go along with that, he was terrible in the field with a negative 7 DRS. At 31, we have a player who came onto the scene in the middle of the season for the Colorado Rockies, and as Elehuris Montero, hitting 11 home runs, 39 RBIs, and a 716 OPS is pretty average, but had decent defense and a negative .1 WAR. At number 30, I have Dominic Smith, who finished the year with 12 homers, 46 RBIs, a 692 OPS, actually played decent defense with a 5 DRS and 0.9 WAR. At number 29, I have Jake Cronenworth. I value Jake Cronenworth more as a player than what this is implying, but as a true first baseman like he played last season, I just don't think he really fits the bill, and that's why he's ranked very lowly. With a 10 home runs, 48 RBIs, and a 689 OPS, only had 1 DRS and accumulated 1 WAR throughout the season. This just really wasn't a great showing from Jake Cronenworth, and I don't think he really fits the bill at first base for this team and should be slotted more as that utility guy. At number 28, we have a player that's really fallen down the ranks this season, mostly due to injury, but even while playing didn't look the greatest, and that is Anthony Rizzo of the New York Yankees. Having a below average OPS in Yankee Stadium is impressive, along with only hitting 12 bombs. Had 41 RBIs and still was good defensively with the 3 DRS. He obviously is up there for the Gold Glove nomination, but he only accumulated 0.5 WAR, and he really just didn't look like the same player offensively that we're used to seeing. At number 27, we have Jose Abreu coming off his first season as a Houston Astro. We saw the decline coming based off his peripheral stats, but his traditional stats hadn't quite taken a hit until this season. He did hit 18 home runs with 90 RBIs, so if this was even 30, 40 years ago, he didn't have that bad of a season, but a 680 OPS, negative defense, and 0 WAR would say otherwise. He really just was getting these numbers based off the situation he was in, as opposed to actually being able to put up these numbers as a result of his play. He was not fantastic, but I did have to put him above some of these other guys based purely off of his reputation alone, but it really just was not a great season from Jose Abreu. At number 26, I have Garrett Cooper, who was with the Miami Marlins and got sent to the San Diego Padres. He finished the year with 17 homers, 61 RBIs, and a 724 OPS, while also having 2 DRS as well. He also finished with 0 WAR along with Abreu. Again, just another one of these low-level guys in the MLB that doesn't really cut it that you need offensively, but he's just kind of hanging around because he's serviceable enough to be a stopgap guy in a otherwise bad situation. At number 25, I have Joey Gallo. I wasn't really sure where to put him, whether it be at the outfield or in first base, but he actually played more games at first base than any other position, so that's where I put him. He finished with 0.5 WAR, 21 bombs, 40 ribbies, and a 741 OPS. Again, that's not the greatest numbers for a first baseman. You'd love to see that OPS be a lot higher, but I think He should be considered more of an outfielder if he just played there more. It's just I think the situation forced him into being a first baseman. At number 24, we have another Miami Marlin first baseman. That is Josh Bell, also formerly of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Once again, having a just mediocre season offensively. Everybody's been trying to chase that once great season that he had back in Pittsburgh, and he just hasn't been there. He did hit 22 bombs and 74 RBIs with a 744 OPS, accumulating 0.4 WAR and -4 DRS. So pretty bad defensively, average offensively. It'll put you down here at number 24. At number 23, I have the Chicago White Sox first baseman Andrew Vaughn with a 0.9 WAR, pretty average defensively at 0 DRS, but had 21 homers and 80 RBIs with a 743 OPS. The only thing really holding him down is I'd like to see him be a little bit more consistent at finding value with the bat. A 743 OPS is still pretty close to average, so you would like to see that go up before he can go much further up the rankings. And number 22 is another guy that I really don't consider too much of a first baseman just because he's not your stereotypical first baseman, but it's Donovan Solano of the Minnesota Twins. He had a 1.7 WAR and -2 DRS, but as a first baseman hitting 5 home runs with 38 ribbies, this really doesn't fit the profile of the position, along with a 760 OPS. So he is finding more consistent value, but he's just not finding the big spikes of power that you would love to see from your first base spot. At number 21, we have another Minnesota Twins first baseman, and that being Alex Kirilloff. He finished the season with a 0.4 WAR, was terrible in the field with a -8 DRS, but his bat did bang a little bit more consistently than the other guys on that roster. Had 11 homers, 41 RBIs, but most importantly, a 793 OPS. Once you start getting that 800 range, it gets to the point where you're a very serviceable first baseman, but the defense and lack of playing time really kind of held him back. At number 20, we have a really interesting guy to rank, and that is Spencer Torkelson of the Detroit Tigers. The home runs and ribbies were there. I see that. But I also am seeing a 758 OPS, which isn't that great, to go along with a -11 DRS, which is the worst of any player on this ranking. So he's terrible defensively. He doesn't find consistent value that you would like, especially with these type of numbers with the bat. He is finding, the home runs and the RBIs, but just not getting it done consistent enough with doubles and stuff like that to get the OPS up to where I would like it. So that's why I have him kind of low. And he only accumulated 0.8 WAR. At number 19, I have Ryan Noda of the Oakland Athletics. The 27-year-old rookie was absolutely phenomenal in his rookie year, only hitting 16 homers with a 54 RBIs, but had 770 OPS with 0 DRS, but he accumulated 2.3 WAR, so I think that's a very successful rookie season for what they were probably expecting to be an otherwise just kind of stopgap guy. At number 18, I have Carlos Santana, who made his way from Pittsburgh to Milwaukee during the middle of the season. He finished with a 2.7 WAR, had a 4 DRS, 23 homers, and 86 RBIs, but once again, needed a little bit higher OPS for me to put him that much higher. I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that. And he has 747 OPS. I love guys that have high OPSs because I think it helps show how much value you're getting, not only just from home runs, but also just how much chance you're giving your offense. And whenever you have a 747 OPS, that's just, I'd like it to be a little bit higher. I'd like you to find a little bit more consistent value. At number 17, I had Ryan O'Hearn, the first of the 2 Baltimore Orioles first basemen. We know that they love to platoon their guys, and that he finished with a 1.2 WAR and -2 DRS, 14 homers, 60 RBIs, and an 801 OPS. Again, it was really hard for me to put these guys too high above some of these other guys just because, they're getting put in this favorable situations every time, whereas some of these guys that are playing first base every day, some of their numbers get dropped down just because they're getting put in unfavorable matchups, just because they are the everyday first baseman. So I couldn't put him above some of these other guys, but I think he had a phenomenal season nonetheless and provides the Orioles with much needed value. At number 16, I have Nathaniel Lau of the Texas Rangers. Again, another player whose situation really improves his standard numbers. He had 17 homers with 82 RBIs, but a 775 OPS kind of puts him in line for this sort of range. Played decent defense as well with a 3 DRS and accumulated 2.6 WAR. But again, I just think the situation really improves his counting stats. And I think if you get under the hood a little bit, you'll find that he's pretty well right in this range. At 15, I have the second Baltimore Orioles first baseman, Ryan Mountcastle, finishing with a 2.1 WAR, 2 DRS, 18 homers, 68 RBIs, and 779 OPS. The reason I think he belongs above Lau is he did hit more homers and had a better OPS with similar DRS in less playing time. And I think that that speaks volumes. I know he's getting put in favorable situations, but I think that he's accumulating the same stats while doing it in less playing time really should speak numbers. At 14, I had a tough guy to put this low because I know the talent that he has and I know what he could be. But at 14, I have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Finishing with 2 WAR and -6 DRS. He did have 26 bombs and 94 RBIs, but only had a 788 OPS. I'm really hinging on that OPS, and he played bad defense. So whenever you have bad defense, not the highest OPS, he did hit a lot of bombs, I'll give you that, but he just didn't provide the consistent value that his team needed, and he was just really a home run hitter for the most part, which is great, and it gets him up to the 14 spot, but I think he just could provide more consistent value, especially with how hard he hits the ball. We all know he's just a big launch angle guy. If he gets the ball up in the air, he does do damage. At 13, I have Lamonte Wade Jr. of the San Francisco Giants. The two Giants players I have on this list, I really don't think of as true first basemen, but that's where they've been put this season, and that's kind of where they performed for the majority of the year. He finished with a 2.7 WAR, 17 homers, 45 RBIs, and a 790 OPS while playing league average defense while in the field. Again, I'm really hinging on OPS. He's right there with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and played significantly better defense. So I think that's why I value him more. He played significantly less time and accumulated pretty similar stats, especially from the WAR department and OPS. So I think whenever I take that into account, I value what Lamonte Wade Jr. could do over a full season a lot more. At number 12, we have a guy that I thought had a really spectacular season, especially considering the situation, and that is Justin Turner of the Boston Red Sox. Finishing with 23 bombs, 96 RBIs, and an 800 OPS was something that I didn't have on my bingo card coming into the season, but he also played good defense with 3 DRS, and he accumulated 2.1 WAR over the course of the season. Just really a fine season out of the aging veteran that I don't think a lot of people really had that high of expectations on still. At number 11, I have Josh Naylor of the Cleveland Guardians, who finished the year with 17 bombs, 97 RBIs with an 842 OPS, while also playing league average defense with a 0 DRS and accumulating 2.5 WAR. This is just another player that kind of flies under the radar that I don't feel like people give enough credit to, but he is a top first baseman in the league. And he finally kind of got some of that notoriety this year, but he actually had a fantastic season. At number 10, I have a guy that wasn't even the primary first baseman on his team, and that is Brandon Belt of the Toronto Blue Jays. He finished the year with 2 WAR, which I thought was impressive considering his playing time, considering he finished with the exact same amount of WAR as Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Also had 19 homers and 43 RBIs with an 858 OPS and -2 DRS. I think whenever I look at it, I think Brandon Belt could still be a phenomenal star in this league if he just got that consistent playing time. But, the situation didn't allow that, and he was just kind of being a role player on, that team that really should have had more success than it did in Toronto. At number 9, we have Tristan Casas of the Boston Red Sox, another guy that I don't think a lot of people really expect quite this much out of. There wasn't a lot of media attention on the Boston Red Sox just because they didn't have the greatest season, but Tristan Casas did have a fantastic season, hitting 24 bombs, 65 RBIs, and also had an 856 OPS. Didn't play the greatest defense with a -4 DRS, but had a 2.2 WAR over the course of the season. He's one of these guys I had to bump up over a guy like Brandon Belt just because he did play the majority of the season and did it at a great level, pretty similar level anyway. So he did actually, he played the full season. He had the same level type play. And he just played more. So that's why I put him a little bit higher. And number 8 is another guy I really don't think of as a true first baseman, but he's just kind of got shifted there as he's gotten older and as the team need has opened up. And that is Wilmer Flores of the San Francisco Giants. Oh boy, what this guy could have done with a full season of play is absurd. But again, he just didn't quite play the full season to show off how great he actually was. He finished with a 2.6 WAR. Played great defense with a 6 DRS, had 23 bombs, 60 ribbies, and an 863 OPS. But again, I think the injuries kind of slowed his season down a little bit because he was actually doing really special things in San Francisco this season. At number 7, we have Paul Goldschmidt of the St. Louis Cardinals. Another guy that just continues to get it done year in, year out. But this year, obviously, we know that he didn't have the greatest start to the year, but he finished with 25 bombs, 80 ribbies, 810 OPS, accumulating 3.4 WAR, and still plays good defense with a 3 DRS. Again, this is a guy year in, year out, you know what you're getting from him, and he gives you this sort of level production, even though he had a slow start to the season and helped the Cardinals, not be one of the worst teams ever this season. At number 6, I have Christian Walker of the Arizona Diamondbacks, who very, very sneakily had a great season out in Arizona, finishing with 33 bombs, 103 RBIs, an 830 OPS, and had 9 DRS to accumulate 3.8 WAR. That is absolutely phenomenal. It's really amazing to me how quiet the media is about this guy, because he was absolutely lighting the world on fire in Arizona this year. And I'm glad that I could at least give him this sort of recognition, even though I have no staying power whatsoever in media. But I just hope people start to realize how great this guy actually is playing, especially whenever you take into account how good he is defensively and off. At number 5, I have New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso, who finished with 46 bombs, 118 RBIs, and an 821 OPS, along with actually good defensive numbers, even though we know the stories that kind of came out about him wanting out and not wanting to field baseballs like to his right or anything like that. But with a 6 DRS and a 3.2 WAR, played good defense, hit more home runs than Christian Walker, and had relatively the same OPS. I had to put him just a notch higher. Again, another just phenomenal season from a first baseman, but these next 4 guys are kind of just in a tier of their own. At number 4, I had Bryce Harper, who finished with a 3.7 WAR, played decent defense with a 1 DRS, had 21 bombs and 72 RBIs, along with a 900 OPS. We all know how great this guy is. Obviously, not being a right fielder does hurt his overall value a little bit, but even in that first base spot for only like 4.5 months of the year, he was phenomenal. And the value he brought just by coming back meant so much to the Phillies and their second half run, and then eventually their playoff run. And number 3 was a guy that caught all the eyes this season, kind of breaking out in a big, big way, and that is Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays, finishing with a 5.2 WAR, 22 homers, 78 RBIs, and a 932 OPS. I put him over Harper just because he did it for the full season. They had relatively similar counting stats, so that would kind of mean I should probably give it to Harper, but he had a better OPS, so he's just not the home run hitter that Harper is, and had more WAR by a good margin. So I went ahead and gave it to Yandy. At number 2, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Freddie Freeman, who finished with a 6.5 WAR, 29 homers, 102 RBIs, a 976 OPS. A part of his game that did slip a little was his defense. He had a negative 9 DRS, which is pretty bad, to be honest, but I don't expect that to be a consistent value. Freddie Freeman is just continuing to do this year in, year out, and be a great level player that you just really can't compare to too many players. And Freddie Freeman deserves to be at this number 2 spot, but I think the number 1 spot has to go to Matt Olson after the season he just had. Finished with 54 homers, 139 ribbies, 993 OPS, and actually was a great defensive first baseman as well, with an 8 DRS, accumulating 7.4 WAR. I think Matt Olson has cemented himself as the best first baseman in baseball this year with the season he had. I understand the argument for consistency from Freddie Freeman over the years. He's just been so good for so long. But I think Matt Olson was kind of in the league of his own this past season. He's significantly better across the board: defense, WAR, home runs, ribbies, OPS. Those are the kind of the stats that I was looking at for the most part, and I think he just kind of superseded Freeman and everybody else this season, and he was just fantastic. Let me know what you guys think about my rankings and your own rankings down below. I love having great conversations with you all. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day.